So if you've not been to one of the parental engagement webinars before, and if you have, welcome back. But my name is Desma. I'm one of the digital customer success managers here at Arbor. And my role really involves around sort of looking at adoption, looking at usage, how can we support schools with that, and working very much alongside Gwyn as well when it comes to our guides, our articles, webinars, videos. And the reason I've got Gwyn with me today is because of she's going to be helping on the chat. She's going to be helping me do a live Q&A at the end as well. So what will this webinar cover today? So we're going to be looking at how we can create value for parents. So what we mean when we say create value is those things that keep parents from coming back, from logging in constantly, what areas you may decide you want to introduce at certain points throughout the academic year, or if you're going to do a mass switch on of all the different modules. We did do more of a module breakdown in terms of the settings in our previous webinar in the part 1 section. You can access that through our past webinars as well via the Help Centre. But what we're going to be mainly focusing on today is looking at communications. And what we mean by communications mainly in terms of the parent portal is your in-app messaging, although you can show communication records in the parent portal as well. And into that as well, I've put in there consents as well. We've had a lot of questions recently about consents, especially with applicants coming in, and also how using the parent portal to actually collect your consents can save your office staff or save staff at your school time as well. We're going to be looking at guardian consultations. I will take you through how to create one of those today, and also how you can set it so that parents can book themselves in, which means they won't have to come into the office or contacting the school to book their slot in. And then we're going to be looking at making that move to cashless. That's managing your payments in the parent portal and what sort of things parents can make payments for in the parent portal. And in our next webinar of this series, we'll give you the dates at the end and the times and how you can sign up to that. We'll be looking into more relations of sort of clubs and trips, but they fall quite nicely into that move to cashless one at the moment. So we will touch on those briefly today as well. So for anybody who's been to one of my parental engagement webinars before, you know that I do like to start with this slide because it's just really helpful to always constantly have in your mind why parental engagement is so important, what the positive outcomes of good parental engagement can be for you. And then just as well, I've got a little quote on there some of you may have seen before from the University of Winchester. And that's just looking at how parental engagement and the growing recognition of it actually across the world and the importance of it has actually increased. And I think we've seen another jump in the increasement of that with sort of actually the case of COVID-19, having to work from home and how you'd contact parents in a more digital way due to the fact of actually children being taken out of the classroom. So I won't go through all of these again, as you know, they'll be in the recording for you from my previous webinars. You can also, I'll put the slides in our community as well for you. But parental engagement is really important because it can have a positive aspect and a positive outcome for students and for teachers and actually parents at the school as well. So some of you may have seen this slide before, but it's actually how can the parent portal help you? So what we mean by this is what can the parent portal allow you to do? So it allows you to compile all your apps into one place. And this may be apps you're using for communications, apps you're using for bookings, apps you're maybe using for payments. The parent portal will allow you to do that all in one area. It will allow you to stay in touch with parents really easily and really quickly, and parents can get in contact with you as well. You can share important updates, and you can also manage payments. So we're going to be covering a few of those today in this webinar as we start to go through the process. So communicating with parents. Having a really open communication channel is a must when it comes to schools, contacting with parents, letting them know about what's going on with their child, and as well anything that may be coming up in the school needs to be aware of. So what I will show you today, we'll be looking at how you can unsubscribe someone from communications, because in those cases you may have, for example, dad might not want to be receiving the comments, but only mum may want them. Where you can find your communication log, sending an in-app message, where in Arbor you can send an in-app message from, and viewing your received in-app messages. So there's all we're going to be looking mainly at our in-app messages today and how you can manage those within Arbor. So just a quick basis for you. In terms of this webinar, I am going to be going between a PowerPoint and I'm going to be going between one of our test sites as well. If you've been to one of our webinars before, you know our test sites have got a lot of data in and they may not be as clean or as nice and tidy as when it comes to your real school site. So if our site does look a mess, apologies in advance for that. It is a test site. It's one that we use for lots of webinars, and also a lot of our training as well, internally and externally, can be done on our test sites also. So what we're going to be looking at first of all is how to unsubscribe a parent/guardian from communications. Now this looks at communications as a whole. It doesn't just look at in-app messaging. So do bear in mind, if you are going to unsubscribe somebody from communications, they will no longer receive emails, texts, letters they won't pull through to your letter, drop down as well, and in-app messaging. So I'll show you by just minimizing this now for you and going into one of our test sites to have a look on how you would do this. So the test site I'm in, you probably have seen before, it's our all through school. So as well, if you've been to one on Parental Engagement before, as you know, I'm quite fond of our little Graham family. So I'm just going to get you up their profile. I'm going to go through it via browsing because it just shows you a couple of different ways. If you have got a parent who wants to be unsubscribed, please feel free. You don't have to scroll down the list like I'm doing today to access the profiles. Just use your search bar to pop it in here for you. So when you're looking at unsubscribing a parent from communications, probably the easiest way to do is we go into the student's profile. So Graham Adams has been my poor guinea pig throughout the whole of the Parental Engagement webinar series, and he's going to continue to do so. So from the student profile, I've pulled up Graham's profile here. And then what I can see over here on the right-hand side is the emergency contacts. Now I've got Mrs. Amber Adams and I've got Joseph Adams as well, the father. So from this one, we're going to take into our scenario is Joseph's got in contact. He's thanked us for all the communications he's been receiving, but actually he's decided he doesn't want to be part of our communications anymore. So what we would do is click on where we can see Joseph's name. And you'll notice that on slide over that comes across. And this is the same slide over. You can mark people as being the primary guardian to allow them to log in. But what we're going to need to do here is click edit. Just so what happens is now the slide over opens up for us and makes it now more manageable in terms of what we can and can't edit. So we're going to not have to make any changes to anything that's already in here. But what we are going to see here is unsubscribe from comms. Now, because it's not ticked, it means he's currently receiving all contacts and any communications around Graham. Because we want to unsubscribe him from the comms, we're going to click on this little tick box here and we're going to click Save Changes. Now, when this updates, it'll pull through those changes for you and you can just double check to make sure they've saved by just clicking in here. So you'll see now unsubscribes from comms is marked as yes. So what that means now is any communications you send out around Graham will no longer go to Mr. Joseph Adams. They'll now only go down to Mrs. Amber Adams because she's still receiving our comms here. So the reason I'm sort of starting you off with showing you in a way how to stop someone getting communications is purely because when we go into and we start looking at how we're going to send communications, the reason I'm doing it first is because it's an easier step sometimes to sort of go through and mark off those people that no longer want to receive your communications from you. So keeping in the theme of looking at communications, we've unsubscribed a parent who no longer wants to receive them. I'm going to show you first of all where you can find and view your communication log and why this area is really, really useful in Arbor for you before we get into actually sending that first message. So as always, if anywhere I am going today in our test site here, if you can't see any of these tabs or you can't see any of the screens I'm taking you today, please do speak to the person at your school data control permissions, as it may be a permission that you need to have added. You're going to notice I can see everything at the moment because I'm logged in as Arbor admin. It is going to be slightly different to you based on your actual business role down at the school as well. But say we can go to an area where we can see all of our comms, and this is going to show you every single comm that's been sent and received via the school, as long as they've been set, not set to private. If they're set to private, only the person who has sent those communications can view them. So do just bear that in mind when sending out communications to parents. If you want them to be able to be traceable and found, don't set them to private. We're going to go to school. We'll go down to the communications tab here, and we're going to go to all school communications. Now, what I can see from here under school comms is it will take me first of all to all the comms, and I can scroll through these if I wanted to, and I can see that there's been loads of emails sent. If I wanted to, I can click into outbound SMS and I can view any SMSs that have been sent out. And you can see here's my one from my last webinar to Joseph there about the BBC Bite Size link. We can also see any letters that have been created, and we can also see any telephone calls, meetings, and our inbound in-app messages and our outbound in-app messages. So you can see here on that, for example, Joseph Adams, when he was still subscribed, I've got all of the messages there. Now, what I would recommend doing, if you're looking for, say, a certain staff member, or if you've got a certain subject, rather than scrolling through them all, you can type in people's names. You can either use your enter key to search or click the search bar, but it'll pull through for you all the communications for in-app messages that were sent to Joseph. If I want to find all communications, not just in-app messaging, I can do the same, but do it under the All Comms tab. And then hit my enter button or click search, depending on whatever's easiest for you. And I can see everything now that's ever gone to Joseph on here as well. So this area is really important for you when you are wanting to maybe go in, you're wanting to see the latest sent ones. And I'll also touch on later on why it's important for those ones where they're either inbound, because this will show you where things may need replying to, or you may have some messages that haven't yet been read, but we'll touch on viewing the ones that come into you in a little while. So we've unsubscribed so far Joseph from comms because he's thanked us for all his communications but no longer wants to receive them from us. I've also shown you the communication log where you can see everything that's previously gone to Joseph as well, but also everybody else at the school. And then what we're going to have a look at now is sending an in-app message for us. And we're going to have a look at how you can send an in-app message using the feature within Arbor and what might be the benefits and why you might want to send an in-app message as well. So if I just take us back to the main page, just so I can show you from the very beginning, we're going to want to go to school, we're going to need to go to communications, and we're going to be looking on here for in-app messages. Now, to actually send a new one, you're going to be going to the new mail merge in-app message, or you can view your sent ones. But because we want to create a new one from scratch, we're going to click on the new option. Now, you'll notice this page here looks exactly the same as when you're going to be sending an email, or if you're going to be creating like a sort of a letter in here as well. Nothing is different in terms of your from, your to, and if you want to combine messages, and even where you'd input your text looks exactly the same as well. So I'm going to be sending my message on behalf of the school. If I was logged in as a teacher within the site, what you'd see is my name appear down here, and you can click send it as me. Now, we have looked at in our previous webinar our communication permissions, and this is where they all feed into, which allows you to send communications on behalf of. So what I would suggest, if you've not had a chance to look over that, would be to have a look over the settings webinar that we've done previously, because there's more information on there for you. In this toolbox, what I can do is either use my drop down arrow, and I can select exactly on here what I might want to send it from, or alternatively I can start typing in as well. So if we're using the same my poor guinea pig child that we've got in, I can see in here that I've got Guardian. I've got the option to go to the guardian of Graham Adams. I can either select only the legal guardians, or I can select only the primary guardians. So I'm going to do primary guardians in here. And then what I can do here as well is if I wanted to, I can change my combined messages. Now, Gwyn's put together a fantastic guide on communications where there's a bit of a breakdown as to what one of these, each one of these combined messages wordings mean. As we know, there can be sometimes little arborisms in terms of our language. But briefly, what I'll do is I'll just touch on them. So, for example, the one that comes in at the moment is one message per household for each student. If the Adams had 2 children, they'd receive one message for Graham, one message for the sibling, but only one message. It wouldn't go to both of mum and dad if they were both subscribed to comms. If you want to do one message per recipient, what you'd do is it'd group the message for Graham and the sibling, but it'd send one to mum and one to dad. So it's just being aware of whatever one you select on here and how that's going to affect your message. So if I just type in here, hi, if I want to add a merge field, then I can do it over here as well. These all still pull through. So recipient first name. So because I'm looking at primary guardians, that will pull through for me the primary guardian's first name. And what I can put in here is just welcome to Sunnyvale. By all means, you're not going to be writing the same message as me. You can put in there anything you'd like to. I hope Graham is doing well. And then what I can do from here is I've not got a signature set up because I am on as an Arbor admin. But if I was on here as a teacher, a signature would be in here for me as well. And then when I'm happy with this, what I can do is I can click proceed. And then I get a summary on here now as well, just before I click send. So the individual recipients is going to tell me who it's going to, who the message is regarding, and also when the recipient last logged in. Now, this is really useful for me because what this tells me is if I'm contacting, say, a guardian who may have never logged in, I might actually be better off contacting them in a different format, whether it's via email or sending out a letter home. But also what this will allow me to do is sort of go, right, okay, if no one's logged in a while, I may need to look into as to why they've not logged in also. And the reason that because I've selected one message per household for each student, now Joseph's not showing on here because I've unsubscribed him from comms previously. So what you can see from just doing those few steps is how everything pulls through and has an effect within Arbor. And when I'm really happy with this, I can go, right, okay, yes, it's going to Amber. Yes, it's about Graham. And then, okay, they've last logged in quite recently, so she should be okay to go in and view that. I can click send. So then you get a little notification just saying, it might take a couple of moments to 3 minutes to complete. Now, this is based on how many you're sending out. If you're sending out lots and lots of messages at the same time, it might take slightly longer than if you're sending the just one. And to get rid of that, just click on the little X as well. Now, what's really good here is that once I've sent it, I then get a table where it shows me again my recipient, but now it will show me the sent, so I can see exactly what time it was sent, and I can also see the status of it being read or not read. This tells me at the moment I've sent that message through to Amber, but she's not logged in to read it yet. And then what we've got set up here in our communication setup is with an in-app message, and I will show you this in one moment. You can actually set it so if an in-app message has been sent, and we'll say within the first 30 minutes or however long you would like, it hasn't been read, it can send an SMS to that parent as well to give them a prompt that they've got an in-app message and it needs to be read. Now, by all means, you don't have to have this on. You can set this down to be a no. That's not an issue at all. So what I will just do is I'll just show you under the setup on the left-hand side, in-app messages settings. If I click onto here, now this is where it all pulls through from that moment of being a push notification. So looking purely at just that notification of an SMS going out, what I will do on here is guardian's notifications are set up. So because we're on a test app, we've got them set up to send an SMS out. If I click into it, it says sending in-app messages and guardian's notification, what I can actually do on here is I can actually mark where it says send SMS message to the recipient if they don't read the in-app message within. Now, we've got that set to 30 minutes, but I can put actually, I don't want to send an SMS. SMSs are chargeable, so I don't feel the need to send that at all. So there's an option on here as well that you can notify a recipient by email. Now, what that means is to their email address, they will receive an email as well as the push notification on the mobile app to say that they've received a new in-app message that needs to be responded to. And when I'm happy, just save changes again. Now, this is entirely down for the school to decide whether they would like to send SMS messages or not. That's entirely down to yourselves. But this is just the area you would either switch those on, you'd set up your time frame, or you'd switch them off. Right, okay, so we've sent an in-app message now. And I'm just going to give you a quick overview as to where you can send in-app messages from within Arbor. Because what's really useful is you'll notice on a lot of our pages where we've got the little pencil icon that you can send, say, follow-ups, or you can send SMSs and emails. Now, we are starting to work through and we're starting to look at some new areas where you may want to send in-app messages from. But at the moment, I've got a small sample for you of where you can do this from. So I'll just take you back into your test site. Now, one of the areas you can send an in-app message from, and probably it's going to be most sort of prominent with what's going on at the moment, is your COVID-19 dashboard. So from here, you go to your Students tab. And when this loads up, so you can see I've got lots of students on here. I can select them all if I want to, use my pencil icon, and I can select send an in-app message from here as well. Another area I can do that from is by going to Students Attendance, and I can do quick follow-up. So this follows up with anybody who may have low attendance, has got any unauthorised absences, has got have any blank attendance marks that I've got this set to here as well. I can do select all or select the individuals I want to follow up with. And I can go to the pencil and click send an in-app message to primary guardians here as well. And then what I can also do is send them either from the in-app message communication module, which I've just shown you, or we can actually go for students, we can go to behaviour, and we can look at exclusions as well. Now, if I just pull through for you the correct area, let me just, so fixed period exclusions, so I've gone into the wrong one. So fixed period exclusions, we could look at exclusions on here. Now, bearing in mind, we've not got anybody in there at the moment, but if I knock this date back just by a couple of months, someone should pull through for me. Being on a test site, as our data is a little bit all over the place. Yep, so you can see children at Sunnyvale aren't very well behaved. But I can either select all, use a pencil icon again to send it in that message, or I can just select the odd few that I want to do it through. Now, the reason I'm sort of showing you a few areas as to where to do this from is it sort of gives you an idea actually of how much you can do within that messaging within Arbor. And actually, it's a free message to send. There's no cost for an MSS, and it might be actually easy for you to sending out an email all the time, and it keeps it all in the parent portal. So the reason that creates value is it gives the parent the opportunity to go in and to view their messages, and doing that via the parent portal can be a lot easier for them in one app rather than going into emails or into text messages, and kind of keep track of all different messages formats they're receiving as well. So if you have decided to actually allow parents to send an in-app message to yourself, and you do that via your communication settings, you can actually view in Arbor as well any messages you receive. So if we go back to our main dashboard at the beginning, and we go school communications, all school communications, you can view it from here. And we go down now to inbound in-app messages. These are any ones that have come into us as well. What you'll do is it will list them all here for you. Now, we get lots of questions about whether it's going to send nudges or notifications when one's been received. It won't do at the moment, so it is going to be a matter of just to monitor this page. So whether that's like you decide to go in the morning or last thing of your day before you leave work, or last hour to go through and respond to any, just be aware if you have got it switched on in the setup down here, that actually they're going to show on this page. And what you can do is you can click into the message from here. You can see who it's been sent from, and you can see the status as well. So then what I can do as well is I can click through and see more details as to who it's been sent from. I can see who the message was to as well. But this is where I can go through and view any of my messages that have come into us also. So we're going to have a look at our consents, and I'm going to show you how to create a consent and also how you can set them up so you can go out and collect them as well. So first of all is where can you find your consents within Arbor? So I'll take you back into the test site, and when we are looking at consents, they're going to be under students, parents and guardians, and they're also down here at the bottom as parental consents. So you'll notice parental consents, you may see that on your site, you'll have some of these that are already be set up for you that Arbor have put in automatically, but you can also add a new consent type. So what I'll do first of all is to show you how to create a new one. So we click add new consent type. We're going to give this consent a name. So I'm going to call this one social media. The description I'd put in here, I'll just put allows the child to be in social media posts. And then this is the bit that's really important. If you want to automatically request this from the guardian, so what that would mean is that it pops up on the parent portal or the Arbor app to say a new consent type has been set, and the parent can click into that and say yes or no to it. Make sure you do tick this box here and then click add consent type. So you'll see now social media is appearing down here, and it's marked to auto requested from guardians. Now, if you've actually switched your parent portal on and you decide, you know what, I no longer want to manually request them, you can actually click into these ones here where it says manually request. And then what I can do is click on the auto request from guardians. And then what I can do here is actually change that from being manually requested to being auto requested by using that tick button and then clicking save changes. Now, once I've done that, if I go back to that main screen, you'll see how that switched there for me from being manually to auto requested from guardians as well. So you can create as many consent types as you'd like. You can also change all of these over here as well. But consents are a really easy way within Arbor to actually get that information into your system. And using the parent portal allows you to take some of the legwork having to send home, say, consent lists or checklists of parents to go through, and then return to the school and have everybody then work their way through those lists to actually get the information into your system. So what it will do then is once you've sent out your consent, and I'll just see if we've got one available for you. So let me just see if we've got one down here. Yeah, so here we go. So once if you've auto requested your consents for guardians in the portal, what it will allow you to do then is if you were to click back into that consent, you can actually see on here, and there's our Adams family again with Amber. She's declined this one. So this is your key worker one. But what it will show you then is who declines, who has given consent, the response date, who responded, and any notes the guardian puts in that consent as well. But also you can see who is still down as pending. And what you can do as well by clicking on here is you can actually click request again, so it sends them like a nudge. Or what you can do is mark them all as consented or declined. So it doesn't take away the ability for you to still manually manage those, but it just makes the process a bit easier for you auto requesting them. So we're going to look at now guardian consultations and how these work with the parent portal. And then once we've done this, we'll briefly touch on payments, and we'll come away for any questions we've had come into that questions tab as well. So guardian consultations, we've touched on these briefly in our Engaging Parents While Working From Home webinar we done in May. So we will have touched on them there, but I'll show you today where you can find guardian consultations, how you can do it to allow a guardian to book in, and also I'll just show you in terms of managing, very similar to consents. It doesn't take anything away from what you can manage internally as a school. It just makes that process a bit easier for you, allowing them to book in. So looking at creating guardian consultations, we'll go back into our test site now. And what I'll do is take you back to that main page again as you're accessing it for the first time. And we go students, back into the parents and guardians section down here, and we go to guardian consultations. Now you can see we've got a lot of tests on here already. These are my previous ones from that Engaging Parents While Working From Home. So there's more information on why you may want to use digital surgeries in there as well. But to create a new consultation, we'll click on the add. We'd give the consultation a name. So I'm actually going to give this one a bit of a different name, just so when we put it through, it doesn't get lost in all those Parents Evening ones we've got set up. So I'm going to call this one Webinar Parents Evening, just so we can see really clearly when it pulls it through to that list where it shows. And then we can put our consultation start and end dates in. I'm going to do this one, just looking at a date that's not covered on that list. It'll be Wednesday the 5th of August. And we're going to do it as well through to the 6th. And we can change our times as well. So this one will start at 3 and it ends at 5. Now this self-scheduling, what this literally means for you is this is where parents can actually go in and they can book their own sessions via the parent portal. So it's really important if you want to allow parents to book in that you actually do put in here a start and an end date as well, and they do have to be before the actual consultation takes place. So say for example on here, because of my consultation starts on the 5th of August, I might want to open this from the 27th of July at 12 noon. And I'm going to close it on the 4th of August, so it's before the consultation starts. And I'm going to close that at 12 noon as well. So what this means is that the guardian has got all this time here to go in and book in for their sessions over these 2 dates. And I'm going to click Save Changes. So then I can see now self-scheduling period is showing in here. Now, say, for example, I want to go in and go, actually, oh, you know what, it's a bit too long for parents to book in. I can click into it and I can edit as well in here, and I can save changes also. If you set up your consultation and at the beginning you don't have this set up for scheduling, it won't allow you to change it. So it's really important, if you want to self-schedule, you do that at the very first step when creating your consultation. Now, what I can do is go through the normal steps now of just setting it up. So I'm just going to set up very briefly in here some meetings. I'm going to go via course leads, just going to pull through a little bit less of the information. And then once again, I can click on any that I want to pull through. I can do a suggested duration as you would do with any other consultation. I can put a location in if I know it also. We're just going to pop it in there for the sports hall. And then I can click allow separate meetings. This is for parents who may have got, or guardians who've got, say, split family homes. So maybe mum doesn't quite get on with dad, or you want them to be able to book separate meetings. They're going to come in separately. Leave that ticked. Once again, if you untick it at this point, it's not going to allow you to go back in and retick it. So I'd recommend leaving that ticked for you. And I can click set lesson meetings and then just click yes. So it takes a little while just to pull through, and then what they will do is will update for me, and I can go in and I can add any of my availability as well. Or I can add my availability for my staff members. Let me just have a quick look. There we go. So now that's updated for me. Now I've refreshed it. What I can do is I can click in here and do my availability periods. Now the reason it says no availability is because I've not done this step yet here. I can click in here, and then what I can do is put bulk add and do it all in bulk. I'm going to do it all for my staff. I'm going to do my dates on here. I'm going to do it purely just 3 till 4 at the moment. I'll save changes. Now the reason I've ended it at 4 o'clock is I can pop a break in there. So I click bulk add again, and I'd go through here and the break. So we're starting at 4. So 10 past 4. So I get a 10-minute break between 4 and 10 past 4, and then they're available to the end of the session, and click save as well. Now, if I go back to my overview, you'll see now that it's all showing in here and showing me meetings booked. Because self-scheduling is not open until 27th of July, that's when it all starts to show up in the parent portal for you. But in the meantime, so we're looking at what you can still manage. There is nothing stopping you. We're going in and actually either changing staff members, or you can change your unbooked meetings. But what you can do is we're clicking into not booked, and actually on here you can still manage bookings manually. So say you've got a parent who hasn't used the parent portal or isn't as confident on the parent portal, you can still book in a session for them. So once again, the parent portal doesn't take anything away for you. What it actually does, it still allows you to manage your guided consultations. So you can still set up additional slots. You can still create one-off meetings. You can add any missing students in still, and you can still book those sessions on behalf of the guardian if you need to. It just streamlines the process for you with reaching out to the parents in the masses and allowing them to book their own sessions as well. So I'm going to briefly sort of touch on payments for you and payments within the parent portal. Now, in terms of payments, you can still manage payments within the parent portal. That's absolutely fine. And I'll sort of give you an overview as to what parents can pay into / for in the parent portal as well. Now, when you're looking at payments, to have this actually set up, you must already have your payments set up in your school's MIS. You must have completed all your security checks. That's all your verifying details. That's making sure you've sent in, say, proof of identity for the person as well. School addresses are set up correctly. And then you need to decide as well as to what accounts your payments be made into. And you can also set up any customer account types you want to show under customer account type tab within Arbor. I will, in the community, link out to any sort of payment articles in the post as well, and I'll drop in some articles that support you if you've not set up your payments already. But the reason we're looking at it today is going to be more from that sort of customer account type side of things. And then in our next webinar, we'll look at it from payments in terms of sort of clubs and trips and how you'd set one of them up and allow parents to go on and make their bookings and make any payments available as well this way. So if we was to look at going at customer account types in our MIS, what we would need to go is I'll take you back to the main dashboard, but go via school, down to payments, and we can have a look at it via setup. So because I'm on a test site, obviously we don't have payments live at the moment, but I can still show you how to do the creation side of things. So we would be looking at here on the left to customer account types, and you can see there's going to be some already on here. So ignore the bottom two, but you'd have your clubs, you'd have your meals, and you'd have your trip set up. So when you're allowing these to be shown and be created within the parent portal, this is where it will tell you if they're showing or if they're not showing. So the meals being a customer account type, what this allows them to do is go in and what we call top-ups within Arbor. Now, top-ups are where a parent can add money into an account to cover, say, lunches or any other form of meals the school shows you. I did show you previously on the last webinar what this would look like under the settings. So if you do want to see that and as to what a parent would see, I would recommend going through the webinar as well. But if I wanted to add a new customer account type, I can do that via the green add as well. Now, you will find we get a few questions from schools about maybe like uniform, tickets, and what we call these sort of like in arborisms a workaround. But what this means is you can create different customer account types to show for students that parents can add top-ups into, and then these can actually link in to different things you might be doing. So, for example, we have some schools that use 30 hours if they've got a nursery, or additional hours. But what you would do is you give your account type a name. So I'm just going to call this one additional 30 hours. And then I can give it a description if I want to. So I can put in there, so students who have more than 30 hours contact. Now, category is really important because this pulls through when you're doing your payment setup as to what category to show under any of your payment reconciliations, any of your payment tables as well. So you'll see on there that you've also got meals, but anything that's not meals would go under ad hoc. And this is just basically means it's anything other than your meals. Now, to click auto create student accounts, this is going to show it for every single student in your system. So do be careful when setting customer account types up, who you're setting them up for. Bear in mind as well, we don't recommend setting up too many because it can just become a little bit confusing. And this is where parents might start, say, paying into the wrong one. And that's when you need to look at doing your refunds as well. So just bear that in mind when using customer account types. But for the sake of this one, I'm going to go, yep, auto create student accounts. And then it went down here, it says showing the parent portal button. So what I can do is click yes for this. And I can literally, if I know the accounting code, I can add this in as well. But I can add a customer account type. Now, when this loads up, you'll see it now appears on the list. So what that means now is, because I've marked it to show in the parent portal, is that any parent now will be able to go in and will be able to make a top up into that account as well. But as I said, I will link out more to payment articles for you around this. You'll get all the information. So just really quickly before we go into our questions, is what can parents make payments for? So in terms of Arbor, you can make payments, what we call like top-ups into customer account types, like be your meals, any ad hoc ones you do create. You can make payments for clubs as well, and you can also make payments for trips. I will cover the next two of clubs and trips in more detail in our next webinar to go over those as well. So what I'm going to do now is just stop sharing my screen. I'm going to come back and join Gwyn on the main stage, and we'll have a look at getting any questions you've got answered as well.
Hi Desma, thanks for the webinar. So we've got a few questions that have been posted in the chat. I'm just going to read them out and an answer for anybody who has missed the webinar and will be watching this back later. Will the push notifications appear on their phone even if they aren't logged into Arbor? The answer to that is yes, they will. As long as they've downloaded the Arbor app and enabled push notifications, they'll get a push notification on their phone. The second question on here, let's see, are these messages free? So email and in-app messages are completely free to use. SMS messages are chargeable. Your options there is you can either buy packages of credits and use these credits as you go, or you can also look into our SMS unlimited option, which for a fixed fee, you won't need to buy packages. Do emails appear anywhere in the Arbor app, or is it just viewed via their individual emails? So parents cannot see emails in the Arbor app. All they can see in the app and the parent portal is in-app messages. If they want to read their emails, they'll have to log into their email account. Can we do any of the steps that you've gone through, Desma, for students that are due in September but are not enrolled yet? So if you've completed step 3 of the new school year setup process to add the future enrolment for your applicants, you'll be able to use consents and the parent portal for them. A student has to have an enrolment for you to be able to use the parent portal. The good thing, however, and aside to this, is you can still send them communications. This is separate to the parent portal, but if you've added an applicant, you can still send them communications. You can send them emails or SMS, even if they're not enrolled yet and nobody's using the parent portal yet. That's just a little tip from me.
So I'm looking now at the question from Lisa. So would a customer account type be used for a school disco? What happens if we say had 3 a year? So what I would recommend with this one is there's a couple of different reasons why I would probably say to you a club or would probably work better. A club would allow you to take attendance for anybody who's signed up to that school disco. To say if children arrive, there's a chance for you to do like a register. I would say a club would work better than this because it's going to pull through to every single child. Now, a customer account type would work also. There's sort of benefits that come with both. A club can allow you to monitor more who has said, yes, they will be attending. You can set that as a time and that will pull through as well after school time. That's not an issue. It will create you a register as well. You can say set up different prices in a club, looking at, say, for example, pupil premium, free school meals. If you're going to be charging for the disco, their prices may vary. I would say depending on what you want to sort of keep a track of with your school disco, a club might work best for you. If you just wanted to say take like a donation or a suggested donation for a disco, a customer account type would work just as well. It'd be popped into the top-up account for them. I would say with this one, Lisa, when you're looking at maybe doing your school disco, if you can get in contact, whether you want to get in contact with me via the community or whether you want to send in an email about that, or just a list of things you might want to look out for, and then we can sort of guide you down which way might be better suited depending on what it is you'd like to do. I've suggested sharing clubs and trips in the parent portal, but when I look at the customer account type, it says NA. Yes, this is what we're going to be touching on more in our next webinar, because it will show you clubs and trips. And what that means in terms of the parent portals, it allows to show that club or trip a pupil is eligible for, allows them to go in and to book up as well. In terms of your payments, actually done via the clubs and trips. And then what that will show you is when I'll show you that in the next webinar about setting up a club and trip and allowing parents to make their payments via that. So it sits slightly differently alongside a customer account type. This is why previously sort of talking to Lisa, clubs might be a better option for you. You can sort of manage it a little bit easier. So can you set up parental engagement sessions for specific year groups, or what you know as like parents' evenings? Yeah, you can set them up for specific year groups with specific forms. There's nothing stopping you doing that at all. If you wanted to say run a parental engagement session to get where you get parents to come in to the school to talk through parental engagement, to talk through how they may use the parent portal, you can still use the guided consultations module for that as well. And that's not a problem. That will still, parents leave. Thank you, Kim. Yeah, no, parents evenings, yeah, you certainly can. So when you set up your consultation, there's different drop-down options for you to choose from whether you want to do, say, individual one-off meetings, you want to do course leads. You can literally select registration form and only pick up the registration form or only the year group you actually want to attend that parents' evening. Yeah, no, so thank you, everybody, for joining me today. Thank you, everybody, for that as well. And hopefully the weather brightens up a little bit for you wherever you are, and have a lovely rest of your week as well. So thank you very much.